We have officially been so Andor pilled. I don't think anyone could be more Andor pilled. This is the Full Fat Podcast. We're back for Arc 3 of 4 with Andor Season 2. And I think this arc is not only a huge payoff to everything that has transpired across the entire Andor story, but I think it contains the best episode of the series so far, which we'll break down in a minute. Full spoilers. First episode... a lot quieter. I think interesting to talk about before we get into the ruckus.
Yep.
I love that they brought the Force in a really interesting way that I wasn't going to. I didn't think they'd do it at all. And just kind of was a nice way of reminding us that all this kind of mystical stuff exists beyond this more grounded world. I loved that Andor actually got healed by the Force healer, and he was kind of skeptical, and it was like, oh yeah, it really worked.
Yep.
But it was just subtle enough that you could be like, oh, it's pseudoscience. Because, of course, he's going to meet Donnie Yen, who's going to, like, blindly walk through laser fire.
Yeah.
So,
he's a Jedi without a lightsaber.
Yeah, he's going to meet a Jedi without a lightsaber.
Yeah.
So, we might as well tackle this stuff now.
It's true. I do think that it was a cool way to bring it in, and I do like that it's played like it's almost like some sort of holistic sort of...
like snake oil salesman.
Something, or just... yeah, I liked that about that. I also think it actually plays a really crucial part to the story of something that happens later, which is sort of the... I think if it doesn't convince Andor, it sure definitely convinces Bix. And I think that moment is pretty much, for me, that if you're wrong, if you think I'm wrong, it's the moment that she realises that she needs to get out of his way.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I think she believes in that moment what that lady is saying to Andor is true, that he is meant for something more special in this resistance, and she knows that he would do anything to just be with her. He's actually, as we've seen, he keeps trying to not be with her, and I think that's the moment where she realizes, okay, I need to get out of the way, because he will stop. And he's so much more important than this relationship, almost, which is crazy. As
ever, every week, whenever we review anything that's a block, we're not going to jump ahead to the end of that, like episode 3.
Yeah, apologies. I just felt like it was relevant to the scene, right? It all connects.
We were talking about this just before we started booting up. He's like, it's been really great in terms of watching each arc week to week in a block. I think that's been the best way to view it, even though it feels like they're dumping it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because obviously the way it's structured. But in terms of reviewing it, you end up going a bit all over the place. It's kind of hard. Yeah.
It's very hard,
Because I think the payoff of Bix leaving in episode 3, kind of to give him that full focus to just devote himself to the cause, I thought was a great way of closing off that storyline, because they really cleverly delved into like her trauma from the assault and the drug abuse over the earlier episodes. And I think we even said on an earlier podcast, maybe she's going to have a sticky end.
Yeah.
But no, it actually kind of subverted that in a nice way of like, no, it's actually that she's going to leave and give Andor that space. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see her in the next 2 episodes. And that's kind of it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Yeah, do you think that's the last we've seen of her?
I feel like the way it's paid off, that could be it. Because the dramatic irony of her being like, once it's all done, we could be together. And it's like, I feel like we know, Andor knows. He said it so many times, no, this is it. We're going to die, doing this. So... it could be the last time we see her. This show is so full of surprises at every turn that maybe she does play into that final arc, because it is obviously going to be a year later. Maybe it is, I haven't seen you in a year, but there's this reason why we've gone back together. Also, another thing I wanted to mention to you, I've been meaning to mention this week after week, is do you think we're ever going to get any resolution to the very first thing that kicked off the entire series, which is that Andor was looking for his sister?
Well, it's funny you say that, because I was literally about to say I wouldn't be surprised if Bix goes and finds her. I could see that. And then maybe it's like a thing of like, oh, we now need to get to Andor to show him that his sister's still alive. But we know Andor never, never...
it's funny, because before I watched the show, and I saw that she was in it, and like, I saw just like stills of them together, and then like when I watched the first episode before they introduced the character, and he said, "I'm looking for my sister," I just jumped in and was like, "Oh, that's who she's playing," and like he's gonna meet his sister eventually, and obviously like that would have been a complete Luke Leia situation.
Yeah, well, it'd be very Star Wars. So
she comes back, she's like, "Actually, I'm your sister." He's like. But yeah, like it'd be interesting to see if that comes about, because I could also see it being like a bit Sopranos-esque in that he never does get a resolution on that.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't never find his sister. It's just like that's the kind of the biggest irony is that like all this stuff kind of because I mean we'll talk about this again when we talk about Syril Karn and his fate.
Yeah.
But this whole show I feel like is so built upon how little things can ripple and chain react into these other things happening, which is kind of like what happens to the destruction of the Death Star.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, and I feel like that's so intentional.
Yeah.
Like with the weapon that gets passed along hands. But let's talk about that in a sec. Should we go?
There's so much to talk about.
Yeah.
There's so much to talk about. I do feel like, I think we've prefaced by saying we will jump back and forth. Because it's so hard to not talk about, because we see the start of a story and then we see the end of where that ends up in these 3 episodes. So it's hard not to jump back and forth. But...
Shall we talk about the Ghorman Massacre and Syril? Because I think that's the centerpiece of this whole block.
Yes.
Yeah. What a character! First off,
fantastic.
I love this. There's so much interesting stuff to unpack with this character, and I feel like it was such an immense payoff to see him go the way he did in that final episode, or in the final episode of his story. That I think we're at the point now where Andor is not just great Star Wars television, not just great Star Wars, it's just great television.
Yeah.
Like it gave me the same satisfaction. Not since like I just binged Sopranos last year. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like getting a TV itch scratched, I'm like, that is a fucking fascinating character, and no punches have been pulled.
No,
because I feel like a lesser Star Wars piece of material. Not that necessarily this is a bad thing, because this is woven into Star Wars, but redemption is a key part of Star Wars, and I feel like it was really, really good that he kind of, I think he sees the strings of how he's been puppeteered by the Empire his whole life. He sees that. Oh no, it's not about outside agitators, it's about destroying the fabric of Ghorman society for imperial gain. And it's not about, the Empire brings about order and justice. It's not about any of those things. That was all a lie my entire life. And the fact that he steps back behind civilian lines is kind of like those seeds of maybe a redemptive arc in a lesser Star Wars story. In another Star Wars story that was more geared towards family audiences, he would have taken up a lightsaber and like gone been Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
But in this, it's like, no, he's still that angry, embittered young man that never got given the satisfaction from his mother or the clarity or you know, no one ever told him, well done.
Yeah.
And then he sees Andor and it's on sight. And like all he came so close to having that moment of clarity, but it all goes out the window because the man that cost him everything is standing over there.
I thought that was so brilliant because, you know, he's attacking Andor not because of the fact that he's pointing a gun at his girlfriend, essentially.
But that's what I think is great, though. I've seen people say, is that why he did it?
No.
But I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
I think that's what's so brilliant, is that, no, his world has come crashing down in that moment where he looks around, the camera sort of spins around him, and he realises exactly what you just said, where his whole life is pretty much a lie. He's, you know, the Empire of, you know, they're willing to kill their own, as we see, to just start this you know, to you know, keep power at any cost. And I think when he sees Andor, it's like, you fucking kidding me? Like, now at this moment, at this point in time, you're gonna turn up now? This fucking guy who I've been trying to see catch for 3 years.
Like Tragedy's Next Door Neighbours a comedy. Like he is hilarious thing. Like he's lost everything.
Yeah.
That's fucking Andor.
Yeah.
That's fucking Andor. Fuck this guy. And then he just fucking... Also, he put up some hands. I was not expecting that from my boy Sirill. He kind of wrecked
rage,
him.
When he
kind of destroys him.
He saw red, didn't he?
You know, the thing is, like, Cassian, if that rug hadn't been on the floor and he had the slips,
Sometimes I do just step back and I just think, fucking hell, Cassian, He's had a rough 5 years.
It never ends for him, does it?
Yeah, it's non-stop.
The only release is
it's non-stop. When he looks at him, and then he has that fantastic moment where he looks at him and he's like, "Who are you?" There's a moment I felt sad for Andor. I'm like, he's got a blood. He's been he's been blown up. I'm sitting there thinking, fucking hell, this guy's been through the wars. And we all know it still doesn't end up very good for him. But
what I love is like, I think Tony Gilroy himself has confirmed, like, the point of that moment is that everything that calls all this stuff for Syril and everything that he is essentially is summed up in Andor. For Andor to not know him is like what kind of breaks him. And he's like, fuck, like lowers the gun 'cause it's like my arch nemesis doesn't even know I exist.
Yeah.
But I also think what is beautiful about this and what is so good about just art and television in general is that I could also see it as when he says, "Who are you?" It's harkening back to what the Ghorman says to him when he's like, "What kind of being are you?"
Yeah.
And I think it's also like, is there a part of it that's like, he lowers the gun 'cause it's like, "Who are you?" Yeah, like, I have all this rage, but really, he's not a killer. He's not a military guy. I don't think he could have killed Andor. I don't think he had it in him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think there's an element of that as well.
Yeah.
Like his sin is his impotence.
Yeah.
He's like his refusal to like see clearly what the Empire really is, isn't it? Like he's a pawn that was always trying to be like a rook or a bishop. Do you know what I mean? Like he was always trying to serve his king and be something notable.
Yeah.
But he's just front line, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's a stooge. Also,
and that's what I say. That's why it's perfect in that moment. That the worst possible thing he could hear in that moment is Andor say, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
To not even his whole life, like you said, he just seeks recognition from either his mum or anyone, and yet this one, his arch nemesis who doesn't even know he exists, essentially, is just like, "Who are you?" And then he's killed. And it's like, what exists? That's it.
Also, like, everything with him and Dedra, like, I think Dedra truly loves him.
Yeah.
The way she like kisses him is like, when we go home, like, this is all gonna be over.
Yeah.
For him to like kind of like get aggressive with the way he does, and like for him to like sort of leave, and for her to like say like keep Syril behind, I think she thinks we can sort this out.
Yeah.
And did you see that bit where she collapses at the end? I haven't felt so bad for such a deplorable character in quite some time. Again, since The Sopranos. Because that's what television does. Because it gives such a breadth of time with people. You can do this in film, but I think this is why what TV is king at, is making someone who is so terrible. You spend so much time with them, and you see so many facets of them that you do get involved in them.
Yeah.
Even though you can clearly see like this person is a monster. Like when she sort of collapses in, it's like she has fucked it more than anyone has possibly fucked it in Star Wars ever. Not since Anakin fumbling a baddie with Padme. Like, she had it all in terms of like her relationship with Syril, and like she was the Emperor's like fist instead, and she's lost it all now, hasn't she? Like she literally let him walk out and get killed.
Yeah.
Like,
and also it shows as well what you were saying that great TV shows do is that they'll slip you into that comfortability of like, this is. This, you know, even this character's a piece of shit, I kind of enjoying them, watching them.
Yeah.
And then the show will remind you, oh no, these people are pieces of shit. Where you see fucking Syril like grabbing her by the throat, and you're like, oh fucking hell, where has this been? Like, you're reminded, oh no, these are deplorable people. You know? And I just think that's just fantastic writing, just to play you. Like,
we just haven't had nuance like this in Star Wars in maybe ever. And it's also I do think like I do get why people say like, oh, Star Wars is for kids. I get that. Like the prequels, like, you know, it was for us when we were kids. I think stuff like that that's made for a family audience. I think the beauty of that stuff is that kids can enjoy it, adults can also get something out of it. Maybe something out of it that you didn't get when you were a kid.
Yeah.
I think particularly like with Star Wars or with like Pixar movies, that kind of stuff. But having said that, I do think there is definitely a place for doing something that is geared specifically towards adults with these franchises, particularly when the kids that watch this stuff have grown up into adults. Like, it pains me to say, but we are now adults. So to have a show like this that then is still set in that universe, but like does give you that more nuance.
And the people that watch the original series are grandparents.
Yes, exactly.
So it's not like it's those two generations of adults.
Yeah. So it's like
maybe 3 generations.
You can
of
still
adults.
get your Rebels cartoons and all that sort of stuff, but it's good that they are carving out a corner of the universe that is more interesting.
Yeah.
And I don't see why you can't have everything happening all at once. I mean, the only problem with it, and it's not even really a problem, it's just hilarious, is that like the fact that like you can have something so tonally inconsistent. Like, the fact like you sent me a meme of like Turgle from Jedi Survivor is in the same universe as Luthen. It's just madness. But whatever, it works. Yeah, exactly. It works. It's the kind of thing like I would love to see. Like, you know, like a Marvel show be like this. Yeah. Like, why? And like Marvel, it's even easier to go off so tonally different. Like, just set something in a completely different completely different corner, and have it be this good. Like, there's no reason why it can't be.
Yep, and I think I think that only works if you do it with a character that isn't as main stake to the story of the original of the films.
Yeah,
but you couldn't do this Obi-Wan Kenobi because then I would agree with people. Like, that is for the kids.
You know,
per se.
I do wonder though. Because the kids would still be able to watch him in these films.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just like, maybe you'll appreciate this Obi-Wan Kenobi show when you're older.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just feel like it'd be one of those things where it's like they have to. You're telling me,
Yeah.
our parents, we're gonna be like, please make me watch the Obi-Wan Kenobi show.
Yeah.
Whereas like Andor,
Yeah.
I feel like you get away with it. I get what
you're saying. Yeah. But I also think it's like it's funny. Like, you can never get that far away from it. Like, it's weird to think like when I see like this grounded Andor show. When I eventually go see Andor's death. 5 minutes later, there's a scene where Darth Vader's like force choking people and throwing them into the ceiling and stuff. It's all just like there. It all exists together. Like every time there's a Senate scene, and there's a really key Senate scene in episode 3, I couldn't help but keep thinking. The other week when we watched this room last in the cinema, it was Palpatine and fucking Yoda flipping
Jar
around.
Jar.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's just like it's all kind of it's all a hodgepodge tonally, but that's fine, whatever.
I mean, even just the KS droids just launching people is like
they were fucking awesome,
terrifying
Terminators.
Yeah.
Did you know that the original episode 9? That they basically, when Bob Iger came back in Disney and the streaming bubble of Tony Gilroy described it as before the bubble burst, they would literally say whatever money you want, we'll commission it. So the budget was endless for all these shows, and obviously now the fist has come back down because this stuff hasn't worked. There was a K2SO episode that was going to basically explain how he came into Imperial hands. The whole episode was going to be set on one ship. And it was going to be basically what they have with the droids in the Ghorman Massacre episode. Yeah. But it was going to be just K2SO on a ship hunting everyone down. It was going to be like a they would describe it as like Alien.
Oh wow, that'd be
so cool. It was going to be like a horror episode, which I could also totally see in terms of the structure because I did really like episode 7, but I feel like
that was the first of the 3.
Yeah, like I feel like it was more of a character talkie episode that could have been truncated into 15 minutes at the start of episode 8.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like episode 8 and 9 could have been 7 and 8.
Yes.
And then I could have easily seen that being episode 9.
Yeah.
But I see when they cut that out, maybe they punched these up a little bit, punched episode 7 up a little bit. But interesting nonetheless.
No, that is interesting. It's also interesting to note that the way he discovers K2SO in this, it retcons a Marvel comic that they had.
Oh, really?
Which was like Andor and it showed their origins of how they met. And so there's been a couple of things in these most of the episode that have retconned a few things. One of them is kind of a couple of stuff from Rebels, funny enough, which I've seen online. So one of them is that they see Mon Mothma's speech, the Rebels, and it's different to the speech that she actually gives. People have argued that it could possibly be within a different time that she gives another speech later.
I think they kind of circumvent it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the episode, they say that she's now going to be taken care of by Gold Squadron.
Yes.
And in the Rebels episode, from what I can tell,
it's Gold Squadron.
It's Gold Squadron and then she's on a ship and then she gives a speech.
Yeah.
So, but like, I do love the inelegance of she gave 2 speeches.
Yeah.
Like, from a story perspective, it makes way more sense that there was one.
Yeah,
but also, I do get why Tony Gilroy would have been like... Which, again, we're talking about like tonal inconsistency. I love that he's writing this fucking cutting-edge adult show and he's like, hang on a minute. Continuity, guys. This cartoon that came out like 10 years ago, that first aired in 2014. Like, is there parity here with this kids cartoon? I even think it's hilarious just knowing that, like, Mon Mothma, this Mon Mothma specifically is in Ahsoka.
No,
like,
yes, it's crazy.
It's just so funny.
Yeah.
Like,
but I think that they're on their way to Dantooine instead of the Yavin, but obviously that's still up in the air if she even makes it there. So we don't know yet what's going on with that.
I think it all kind of fits.
Yeah. But, I mean, it doesn't. I mean, that doesn't bother me. It's good shit. So.
I also loved that episode on Coruscant where she outs Palpatine and then Andor has to try and fucking escort her out of there. Reminded me a lot of the very first arc where he's trying to get off Ferrix. Where it's like the walls are closing in, he has to get out of there. It was also so fucking exciting.
I mean, man, well, first things first before we go into that is the music that plays during a speech is the same music that plays during the speech in Ferrix from the...
in the finale.
In the finale,
yeah.
I see. And yes, it was incredibly exciting. I actually think that might be my favourite episode of the whole show, funny enough.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I absolutely... I don't know. I thought it was going to be the one before.
Yeah.
But then, I don't know, there was something about the espionage and the tension of that final episode that I just found so exciting. Like, the speech and, like, her just... I know we don't see him, but her just dropping Emperor Palpatine. And there's some people that were saying online as well, saw that the way they get her to speak at the thing, the way what's the guy's name?
Senator Bail Organa.
Bail Organa.
Yeah. I don't know why I said Senator Bail Organa.
Yeah. Sometimes you need the trigger.
Dr. Bail Organa, MD. Thank you very much. Sir Ben Kingsley.
Someone was pointing out that like that he uses some term that allows her to like go up to speak.
Right,
thing. And someone was saying that they think that's the same thing that like Palpatine was using, may have used to get himself to speak after the emergency of like, the Jedi have turned on me. Do you know when he does that emergency? And so someone was pointing out kind of the irony of like, it's now been used against him kind of thing. I don't know how true that is or stuff, but I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, that whole sequence, even just her finding out that her sort of, you know, the guy she sort of worked with, her bodyguard, if you will, finding out that he's been working for Luthen, like all of that stuff, I just thought, like, and her reaction to that, I feel like I could talk 4 podcasts about these 3 episodes.
Yeah, you could easily fit per podcast per episode.
Yeah, I feel like I'm rushing.
We have to do.
What I'm saying, I'm like thinking about. So every time I'm talking, I'm like, oh, what about this and that?
Because even like just the microcosms of tension of like, Luthen. Someone on Bale's team cannot be trusted. Her going to Bale. Do you trust them? Yeah, of course. Do you know them? No, I can't know them. Well, it's like, oh, that's a bit of a red flag. And then it's like, oh, is it true? Is it true? And then like when the Imperial spy was like on the old dog and bone, and then that guy's like, who are you talking to? And she's like, oh yeah, never. Oh shit!
So good,
like also, I loved Andor within the space of like 5 minutes, just like fucking point blank someone in front of Mon Mothma. He's just met her, which again, in of itself, I'd say they're like the 2 main protagonists of the series. For them to finally kind of properly cross over, very satisfying. I also was a bit reminded of like the structure of like back when Game of Thrones was really good, and like I think Breaking Bad did this as well, where like the penultimate episode was almost like the finale.
Yeah.
And then the episode after that was still really good, but it would be like a bit more of the calm after the storm. And I feel like
the encore almost.
Yeah. And I feel like we definitely got this with this arc. It felt like if there was another season planned, this would have been the season finale.
Yeah.
Ghorman would have been the penultimate episode, which would have felt like the finale. And then Mon Mothma getting out of the Senate would have been like the smaller actual final episode. It felt very much like that structurally to me, and in a very satisfying way. Yeah. I like it when it kind of like we have the real big crescendo, and then it's like, what's the aftermath?
Yes, I agree.
Rather than waiting a year. But of course, now we just have to wait till, well, this week, basically, for another 3. That's the thing I can't get over as well. We have another 3 to go. Yeah, what is going to happen?
It's insane. I have no idea. And yeah, just to go back onto what you were saying with that Mon Mothma stuff, is just like, I love this whole, that moment where it's like, do I trust Luthen, this guy I don't really trust anyway? Or do I trust this guy I do really trust, but Luthen's telling me that there's people who are taking me there who I don't trust? I just think that whole dilemma was just so good. And like, even just little things like she's getting so frustrated of like being listened to, that, or like just being spied on and all this like espionage, that like she cracks the when she discovers the bug, she like destroys it, right? And I kept thinking like she probably fucks herself over a little bit there by doing that, because she's kind of let them know, where she could have just kept talking. But I think she's just so frustrated, she's just so ready to leave this Coruscant, that, I mean, just everything that happened to that build up to her giving that speech was just, and then afterwards there's I don't know about how you felt, but I felt like this really like tense, weird feeling. Do you know when they're in the house, when they go back to where Andor's been staying, and they all basically re-meet they all meet back again in that place, and they're waiting for sort of Luthen's next orders, I guess. I absolutely loved that it was like there was something so intimidating or scary about that scene to me. I don't know why. It was like, we've all done it, but it's not over yet. Like, I don't know what. Something feels like it's going to go wrong, even though nothing did end up going wrong in that scene. I don't know. There was just that whole escape. I just thought was electric, and all I kept thinking about this whole time, and I feel like we're going to get it in these next 3 episodes, is what's happened to the husband and the daughter, because surely the Empire are going there next to be like, what have you been involved in?
Yeah.
And I feel like we had all that build up at the start with them, you know, with her getting married and stuff, and I feel like these next 3 episodes there's going to be some stuff exploring that surely.
I'm just interested to see where it's going to go, because obviously this is now the bridge between what we just saw and the Ghorman / what is, I think it's also known as the Tarkin Massacre. Yeah. To the prelude to Rogue One, which we're going to get in these last 3 episodes. I think we're going to get a lot of Milk Mendelsohn.
Oh yes.
We're definitely get obviously a lot of Andor, a lot of Mon Mothma. I feel like it makes sense that we're going to get the end of Luthen. I feel like tying off what he said about I live to see like the sunrise for someone else, basically.
It'd be weird. It'd be weird if he didn't, because I feel like it would be like, well, what's he been doing? Because he's kind of been the one that's orchestrated all of this. And also, particularly, if you think about Rogue One, Mon Mothma calls up Janursa to communicate with Saw Gerrera, whereas, like, I guess she could just do that with Luthen.
Yeah, it's
so
also like...
I feel like it's too messy. He's almost going to go. And I feel like he feels like he's going to go as well. So it's...
If they're the 2 main protagonists, Luthen's like the protagonist. He's the only loose end. Like, in very much Luthen style, you know, he's the only loose end. He's got to go, isn't he? So it's like it's going to happen with him.
Yeah. There's something about Luthen, and I don't know if you think this as well. There's something about Luthen that I feel like is the perfect inverse to Palpatine, because he plays Palpatine. Do you know how, like, he wears the wig, he wears the gums.
He's got the alter ego that's like high society.
Yeah.
He's manipulative.
Yeah.
He's kind of given up his morals in service of his cause, which is what Palpatine does.
And behind closed doors, he's kind of a lot more of an evil, angrier person than that person he kind of portrays. And he kind of dresses the same. And I think it's interesting that he's kind of the one that orchestrates the demise, technically, of Palpatine. I mean, obviously, you know, big picture. But I don't know. I was just thinking about it when I keep watching it. I'm like, I wonder how much that was thought. Surely that was intentional, like the way he looks. And I don't know. I can always see him playing him.
There's a lot of great parallels. Yeah. I also think it's like great.
Rhymes, man.
It does. It even rhymes really well with the first season. And I almost want to take the time at some point to just burn through it all again.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm saying this about Andor.
This is crazy.
But it just shows like when we can get good fucking Star Wars, the magic is still fucking there.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
Like, 20th anniversary Revenge of the Sith was dope. This was dope. Yeah. I've just recently been playing Battlefront 2 with you. That's dope.
Amazing, yeah.
I'm so Star Wars pilled again that I've been booting up Force Unleashed 2 and Lego Star Wars 2. I've been playing them. I've just been like, I need some Star Wars in my life.
I never thought it would come back. I never thought it would exist again after what we've had. But just a little bit of good writing, and this is why. This is what happens.
But I think going forward as adult Star Wars fans, which is a sad sentence to say, is I think you just got to pick and choose the pockets you're interested in.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, there's still going to be crap.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think the Mandalorian Grogu is going to be good. Maybe it will be, touch wood, but we'll see. But I think that's going to be more of the same.
Yeah.
I think everything. Yeah, like I think Filoni was really great with like the animated stuff, but I think what he's brought to the live action stuff is just, I'm going to legitimise all my characters and make them live action. And I just don't think any of it's working. And I don't think any of that's going to continue to be good.
Yeah.
The Sean Levy Ryan Gosling movie is a question.
Yeah.
Might be good.
Yeah.
I think the real question of how Star Wars will survive is, what's the next big chapter? I think what we need, and I know we've said it before, is like, let's skip ahead to the future. Let's forget all these characters. Let's move on and let's just tell a new trilogy with a new story. Yeah. And I think that's the only thing that's going to truly save it. Because it is interesting that like we're setting things after Rise of Skywalker now, but it's still like everything's pre and post the Emperor coming back. I just need to get away from that.
And I know this is still, in that timeline, but I was playing a bit of Jedi Survivor the other day, and I was sitting there thinking, I absolutely love this character, Cal Kestis. I think he's such a great Jedi character. and I don't think really care about any of the other stuff going on in terms of, I don't feel like I need Anakin to turn up or anything like that. Jumps out or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm just intrigued by his story, and I think that's sort of. I had a moment where I sort of realised, I feel like, maybe it's this Ryan Gosling thing, maybe whatever, but I feel like we could just have another, Jedi
100%.
story in this universe,
100%.
and hopefully kick off a new trilogy or whatever.
I think the Cal Kestis stuff's done such a good job of like, whereas Andor is like fueling and getting new perspectives on stuff we already know. I feel like the Jedi Survivor stuff is more like, here's what some people in Galaxy are doing off in another place. Like, it's still connected to the Empire, but it's more about, I'm a Jedi that survived. Where do I go next? Rather than like in service of this cause. Like, I love the whole idea that they're trying to like find a like pocket world to like live in beyond the Empire, and like the antagonist is a High Republic Jedi. Yeah. Like, none of this stuff has anything to really do with like what's going on, but it still is informed by it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, and like the Empire's still a presence. And I know more about the story than you, so I'm not going to say anything. But it does tie in with the first one really nicely. Okay, but also it's about going over here, but it's still in service of who Cal Kestis is.
Yes.
And I'm really excited for where that's going to go. Like, the most exciting things for Star Wars now are Jedi Survivor, Jedi Order 3.
Yep.
I am excited by the Ryan Gosling thing because it's Ryan Gosling, even though I don't have a maximum amount of hope.
Yeah.
And then whatever Tony Gilroy does next, really, I'm sure he's going to do something original now.
Yeah. But I think he's done with Star Wars, but it's a shame.
But just, if I was Disney, I would be like, here's a gold Rolls Royce, here's this, here's that. Basically, what they're doing for Filoni, I'd be doing for Gilroy. Like, here's a diamond-plated, golden-encrusted trinket for you to have. It's worth $9 bajillion Disney dollars. Please, here you go. Here you go. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, overall, another fucking Andor W. Another fat Andor W.
I feel like there's. I feel like there's so much more to talk about. But yeah, I guess we have to.
Well, we'll go into it more if you want. But I think we covered the salient points. I think it was really probably the nicest thing we've ever seen the Empire do to fully see a genocide, a massacre on screen like that.
Yeah, that was horrific. Especially when those droids come in. That was horrific.
But again, it's like seeing it boots on the ground in a way that we never really got to see in the original trilogy. Spelling it out for people that really like. I think there's like a lot of people that like the Empire aesthetically. In terms of the fandom, and I think it's like, no, like this is like that fucking guy. The guy that's basically like the wolf that came in to like really
clean things up.
He was fucking terrifying. Horrible character.
Yeah, he was terrifying.
And and obviously, like, I just think it's like when people say like I don't want Star Wars to be political, it's like I think people just want it to be like nuanced and engaging.
Star Wars has always been political.
It's always been political. Yes, it's 1977.
It's always been about like Vietnam. It's basically based about Vietnam. George Lucas has spoken about it a million times.
And this stuff, I think, has been achingly political to different cultural moments of the time, of the decade, and of now, and like it does it with such conviction. This is what people want, not just like kind of tiptoeing around things. It's like it's baked into the story, and it's about where like it informs what's happening with these characters.
Particularly, Mon Mothma's speech, you could apply it to today. It's pretty relevant. The whole thing of like not knowing what's truth and
being in like a post-truth
world. When you live in that world, no one knows what truth. It gives rise to certain powers. So it's like it's wild.
And Force Lightning. That was the power they were talking about, wasn't it? Literally, like lightning from the hands.
Of course, Palpatine. It would be good to see.
Palpatine. I would love to just see him in it, and like he doesn't need to lift a finger or shoot anyone. I just like when they're always like, oh, I had a meeting with him. I just think it'd be almost, because what the show's done so well is like making like these ordinary imperial political conversations so terrifying. I'd love to just see him like run things, and like that's what's scary about it. I don't need to see him like, But
I'd love to see him through the perspective of these other guys. Like how does like taking a meeting with the Emperor, we know him as the fun, how is it from their perspective, like how like Krennic meets Vader in Rogue One. What is it like having a conversation with Palpatine? Like
I feel like it'd almost be like with Krennic, like when he's like, I had a meeting with the Emperor yesterday, I feel like the Emperor's more business, whereas I feel like Vader, like when Vader chokes him out,
He's just send me to the next person to kill.
Yeah. I don't see the Emperor like flashing his lightning all the time.
Yeah,
I think it's more just like he just knows how to threaten with his words.
Yeah,
like, but I don't need to see that, but it would be great.
Yeah.
But
No, same.
But yeah, another fat Andor W. I can't wait for these last 3 episodes.
Yeah, I'm always sad it's nearly over.
I am. It's funny because I did think, oh, it's great. It's just 2 seasons. I don't think I could do 3 seasons of it before I watched it, and now I'm like, it's all been jam packed. It's been great, but like I could have done another season, just one more season of Tony Gilroy Star Wars, just one. Like
Also, I said at the start of this that when I watched the first season, I liked the show, but I wasn't like fully Andor peeled. Like I was like, I thought he was like, I didn't think he was that interesting as a character. I can confirm this week, I get it. I am Andor peeled. He is the character that basically just gets thrown one adversity after another, and his way of dealing with suffering is to chuck himself straight back into the thing. Like the way he deals with Bix essentially breaking up with him is not to, go cry in the corner. It's to, right, let's go straight to fucking, what's the next mission? I'm going to stick my gun at this KS unit. Like, let's go. Let's just deal with my trouble with like solving another mission. And I'm like, okay, now I get who he is.
He's the perfect centre point of this whole show, which is about what are you willing to give up to essentially do the right thing?
Yeah.
How much of yourself do you have to lose?
Yeah.
And all the characters lose.
Yeah.
Huge chunks of themselves.
Yeah.
For this cause that will eventually be kind of typified by characters we don't even meet in the show from the original trilogy. That's kind of like the great tragedy of all these characters. And Tony Gilroy just gets
nothing because Palpatine comes back.
Oh,
and
God.
It's all ruined, isn't it? By the last God,
JJ Abrams,
Chris Terrio. Oh my God. How many Chris Terrios do you think it would take to like get one Tony Gilroy? Like 1,000 men versus one gorilla. That's like 100 Tony, 100 Chris Terrios versus one Tony Gilroy.
No,
do you think they could take one Tony Gilroy? I don't think so.
No.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Andor is undone for now. Yeah. Doctor Who, episode 6. The story in the engine. A huge thank you to Dr. Chike and Peter Vaughan for being my full fat patrons. Your contribution to keeping the channel running is immeasurable. If you'd like to join the Patreon for exclusive goodies, early releases of main videos, the podcast, video scripts, and a thank you in the credits, then please head on over to patreon.com/fullfatvideos to choose one of the paid tiers.